And we're live here on actually Monday night, but you'll be watching us live at noon on Friday, the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. Thank you for taking a moment to join us here today, and I'm very pleased to have a special guest with us. We've got Thomas Benjoe with FHQ Developments. Thomas, great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks, Jesse. This is great.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to have you join us and chat a little bit about what it is that you do, as well as talk a little bit more about the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation and see if we can come up with a few tangible sort of action items for the folks in our community. So first off, why don't you let us know just a little bit more about yourself as the president and CEO of FHQ and what it is that you guys do there with your economic development organization.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thanks again for having me. And Thomas Benjoe, I'm from Muscopheating First Nation, which is here in Treaty 4 territory. I'm actually Cree, Dakota, and Saulteaux. So it's nice to be able to work for the tribal council and the Dev Corp and still be able to represent my community as well. But FHQ Developments, we're the investment and economic development arm of the Tribal Council. So our sole responsibility is to invest and create businesses and generate wealth for our communities and do that in a way that we're able to also share resources and build an Indigenous business ecosystem around the success that we're having from an investment perspective. And then we do serve some of the HR function, which is meant to more so support the overall growth of our organization. So it helps us scale up our companies and scale up some of the businesses we may invest in.
Awesome. Wow. Sounds like you have a lot of really comprehensive things that you bring to the table to the community here in Saskatchewan and across the prairies. And yeah, people should definitely reach out to you to learn a little bit more. But here we're here having this conversation, at least when people are watching it, on the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, a new holiday here in Canada, one that was very much needed. And often people are wondering sort of how do you approach this day? And I'm curious how you think about today and approach the day and what you do to sort of honor it.
Yeah, I think well, over these past few years, we've taken this time to continue to teach. And I know I do a number of speaking engagements. You know, we'll be speaking at the Miyawachidowin Day and talking about diversity in tech in Saskatoon here on Thursday night. So excited about that. So just continuing to share, you know, our knowledge and be able to build an understanding of why, you know, the day is so important and, you know, what organizations and what people can do in general to help to support Indigenous engagement and in their organization or in their lives. When we look at the day itself, the days we do recognize it as a holiday as an organization. And so for me personally, with my family, I mean, we take the time to be with family and make sure that we're supporting our loved ones, because the day itself is, you know, it's an opportunity to learn, but for some of our survivors of residential school, it's also could be a day of remembering some pretty traumatic times in their lives. So we want to make sure that we're taking care of them and making sure that they feel supported and loved from their family members. So it's important for us to spend that day with family.
Absolutely. Yeah. And encourage those today reaching out to those in their community that they know that might be feeling it a little bit more today, and being that person that can give a warm hug or just some kind words of encouragement. I know myself, I plan on participating in some of the events here in Saskatoon, like the march that I did it last year, and I hope to do it again this year as well. And so the tech sector, I mean, it's a sort of a unique area. to think about truth and reconciliation, and something that you've been involved with for a while, Thomas. You've invested with us in the past when we did a summit with our friends at Valhalla, and you're quite involved with the Indigenous Innovation Program at SIIT. So this is something you're passionate about. So what do you think when you think about truth and reconciliation in the tech sector, and how the economy and in the community around it should sort of be approaching the topics around truth and reconciliation with tech?
Yeah, well, I think it's all about relationship building. And so when I think about, our first steps into the tech industry, our FHQ was, created one of the first Indigenous tech companies in Saskatchewan. So quite proud of that accomplishment. But it also meant a lot of relationship building for us and building understanding amongst individuals that worked in that sector, and then understanding some of the challenges and where there's gaps in how as an Indigenous business we need to be supported. But I also seen it as a way of being able to pave the way for other Indigenous tech companies to follow in those footsteps and to continue to benefit from those relationships that we were able to create in the community. And I did this through serving on boards, just being involved in the community, being involved with some of the startup initiatives, and so just being able to build some recognition within the industry. And when we think about how can the tech industry help Indigenous communities, I think just continuing to build relationships, continuing to build an understanding of how you can support either an Indigenous business or an Indigenous entrepreneur enter into the space, and help to give them an understanding of what perhaps even a career would look like in the industry. Because when we think about some of our young people that we've been able to hire into our company, they didn't have a lot of family members or mentors or anyone that they could go to and say, oh, what is it actually like to work in the tech sector? So we needed to be able to build some of that mentorship as well, with people that they can recognize with. And so the more you reach out, the more you build those relationships, the more your brands are recognized in our communities. It means a great deal to our young people, because it does open them up for, hey, I remember this brand, or I remember working with that individual, and I'm thinking about a career in tech. So just those, again, back to relationships, building relationships is critical in any of the sectors that we work with.
Wow, great words of wisdom there, Thomas, on building relationships. That's what we're all about here at Startup TNT. Our motto is have fun, make friends, build companies. I think that's a lot of what you just said. And so people thinking about tangible action items, just reaching out to folks like Thomas, like FHQ. I'm sure there's many people at your organization that would be willing to have a chat about how maybe FHQ could work collaboratively with a company from sort of the mainstream tech sector. But yeah, hiring folks, great way to get started. And highly recommend folks, if you're looking to hire people, SIIT, great program. They're doing a lot of work on innovation, and they're also looking for mentors and coaches. So with that, we're approaching the end of our time here, Thomas. Do you sort of you got a number of things that have just kind of come your way in terms of some wins? Anything you want to share with the community on something new and exciting coming up for FHQ?
Yeah, well, we're able to start one of our first Indigenous tech companies in Saskatchewan, which is Plato SAS Testing. And recently we did actually, after 3 years of operations and very strategic investment, to now being able to sell that company, and use the sale now to use for further investment in our community. We got an 1,150% return on that investment. So it's board members are quite happy. I think our communities will be quite happy with seeing that type of a win. So we continue to look for those types of opportunities to be able to grow and sell or grow and expand and scale companies, and continue to utilize the FHQ development's business model. If we didn't have that in our back pocket, we'd definitely struggle to grow those businesses, but it's been working well for us, and we'll continue to move forward with that model. And then besides that, we will be making another larger play in the tech sector. We do have a large consulting company that we are in the process of finalizing here. So expect to see an announcement in the next couple of months on the new venture that we'll be taking off with. So we'll be able to work with multiple companies, and we'll have some pretty significant capacity, not only here in Saskatchewan, but we will be national and international in scope as we grow and scale that company. And then the third thing is our ag fund. So we are looking to start our own fund with partners, and we're quite excited to be in a lead position, demonstrating that as an Indigenous organization and a community-owned organization that is going to benefit 16,000 members of our community, will now be able to take that next big step forward and be able to manage a fund and be able to participate in the protein sector and see a number of investments there. So we're quite excited. It's a new large step for us, and we could continue to push the FHQ business model into those new investments, and hopefully continue to see the returns that we've already experienced and are experiencing with some of the other businesses that are managed under this new model. So so excited for new investors to potentially participate with us, because I get that question all the time. I have investors asking, how do I invest with FHQ directly? Well, can't invest in us directly because we're a dev corp and we're community owned, but you can invest in the fund and still benefit from the strategic model that we've been able to put together as an organization. So glad to build some more relationships in the community, and excited to see what the future holds.
Amazing. Wow, that's some great news. Love that big win with Plato testing. Love that you're going to be reinvesting that money back into the community, continuing to grow, continuing to build those relationships, and getting involved in agri-food is something I'm passionate about. So I'm really excited to hear more about that. And you heard it here first, folks, here on 5 Minute Friday. So keep an eye out for those awesome announcements. And we're going to be wrapping up here. Thomas, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to reach out and make a connection with you and FHQ Developments?
Use the socials. LinkedIn's pretty active. You can keep up to speed on all the things that we're up to as an organization. And I always get a lot of questions on there as well from the community. So don't be surprised if you're getting an answer at 2 o'clock in the morning, because I'm up or my mind's going. So connect with me on the socials there.
Perfect. Yeah, connect with Thomas on LinkedIn. Great person to know, great person to follow along with. And highly encourage everyone today on the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, take some time to think about how you can start building those relationships with the First Nations community, and start that process of healing and reconciliation. And highly encourage to see what events are going on in your local community, and maybe go out and support if that's something that works for you. With that, we'll wrap it up, and enjoy the rest of your day, and have a great weekend, everybody. Cheers.